Welcome to the Lounge, guys. My name is Toby Roydell, and today I want to roast myself and my generation. Because sometimes we suck a little bit. Just a little bit. Of course we don't suck, guys. Just sometimes. A little bit. But what is a thing is that sometimes we feel like we are on the wrong path. We are not meeting the expectations of others. But why? Why is there so much self-doubt? Many older people gladly admit that in their youth they were quite simple-minded and short-sighted at times. And I do think that this is a part of any generation, but these days, people at my age, I don't think that anyone would even remotely claim to having solutions for the problems that we face right now in the world. No one would actually be as mad as to say that we have the solution. We know how things work. Many older people, however, admit that when they were younger, even though they were a little bit short-sighted and didn't know how the world worked yet, felt that they were pretty close to solving things and to being really close to the truth and the solutions to things, where today they know that they actually weren't. But I do not feel this way. I do not feel that I'm close to any solution to those big things at all. And I don't think many of us claim that. Actually, quite the opposite is the case. A anxiety of the future. A lack in confidence has taken over. Where am I going? How should I manage what is expected of me by my parents, by my peers? What should I do? Hopefully I don't get invited to a meeting of my high school peers and colleagues 10 years later after high school, and I have to tell them that I didn't reach anything. Hopefully that isn't the case. This is much more the case than, easy guys, we got this. Easy, I got everything under control. We're just going our way, we're doing things, we're getting there eventually. No problem at all. This is rarely what I hear. So this leads to a lot of frustration that is out there. And there's a lot of different ways to deal with frustrations, and some bad ones. Let's call them temptations. There are things like drugs and alcohol, how to deal with it. Like, these are some bad ways. Or violence, even in some specific cases. Or psychological issues and illnesses that arise from the pressure that we put on ourselves and are put on us by other people. Now the question is, are we just weaker than previous generations before us? And if yes, how and why? Some people would say, and it's a popular argument, you might know this, of course the younger generation is weaker because they didn't have to endure the hardships that the older people had to endure in their youth. And of course, it's also this softiness, and everything's too soft, and they're weak and not reliable because they didn't endure the hard stuff. Another way of seeing this, and it's just a different perspective on the same argument, is, well, those hardships, it's a consequence of these hardships that parents and previous generations were going through. Because they were saying to themselves, I had to go through these hardships and I want my children, my kids, to have it better than I had. And so all the problems and difficult questions and decisions and problems that arise are just solved for us, for many people. And this is the era of helicopter parents. This in turn, or in addition even, leads to this weird sentiment that every kid, that everyone has a magically hidden special talent, which is sometimes hidden very well. Every kid is supposed to be a wonder, and then years later has to go back to their parents and confess to them that they are no genius when they realized their own mediocrity. Or you become a complete asshole, thinking that you're the best and the greatest just for existing. We all know those guys. We are no super whiz kids and geniuses and Nobel Prize winners. Let us breathe is a sentence I hear quite often. I mean, our parents weren't supposed to be Nobel Prize winners and geniuses after all as well. So why do we have to? But is it our fault? Are we the ones to blame for that? I mean, if I had the choice between a rough and tough youth with hardships and crises and a light-hearted youth with a lot of fun and great times and growing up in peace, well, I would choose the latter. I mean, you'd be crazy if you wouldn't choose that, right? But what I do acknowledge is that some realities of life, some life lessons that would otherwise, through hardships, be learned earlier, must be caught up with. They need to be learned at some point, don't they? And this is the point where I would do some improvements. Because I say that we all know that, but we do not all know that. But the world does not care about you. You need to be confident and sometimes hard on other people to get what you want, in order to not being exploited and taken advantage of by others with not so nice intents. And achieving this while not being a complete ass and not being an arrogant little prick, but with the sense and the thought and the goal of cooperation, not confrontation. And this is really hard. These are big topics. Or for instance, that there are evil and bad people out there for your interests and for you as a person. And that you need to take care of them and be thoughtful without losing faith in humanity completely. So always keeping the balance with that. It's not about seeing enemies everywhere. It's about knowing when some situation is dangerous. And I often see, and when I hear in the news about certain situations and that crimes were committed, and even though there is no excuse for the crime, many things, probably from case to case, could have been done to avoid the whole situation. But there was just a whole lot of naivety. And this is the thing I want to get across. This whole process is getting rid of your naivety. There is this day, and this day comes at a different point in time for everyone, where we have to learn the harsh realities the world can have and that are out there in the world. And not doing this and not telling someone that the world can have some downsides as well is equal to social murder and setting someone up for quite some failure and some hard lessons that are not necessary at all. And such people are way more prone. There's a little bit of personal opinion here, but I really feel like that such people are way more prone to being caught up in propaganda, caught up in fake news and stories and certain kinds of storytelling and psychological issues as well, because they cannot handle stuff, because they never learned that, yes, sometimes life sucks. It sometimes sucks and you have to get through it somehow. And you need to have the right mindset and the right way of dealing with it. And not telling someone that there is some evil out there is not the solution. By the way, I'm talking quite generally here, like quite generalized, because of course this does never apply to everyone in every circumstance. It absolutely does not. Take for example rougher and tougher neighborhoods, where the rules are different. People from there tend to have a tougher skin. Not relieving human beings of this naivety at a certain point in time, better sooner than later of course, is really, really dangerous, and it does not help them to later make informed and competent decisions. It leads to immaturity, for instance politically. And there are many different things and parts where an improvement could be done. For example, education system. Again, it always comes back to this. Like it is an education failure, even either by the parents, by the society, or by the educational system. And the person, him or herself, of course. You need to inform yourself as well. Let's not forget about that. But to learn from some source how to rent a flat, how taxes work, that I need to pay for this stuff and how I pay for it and how it works when the bank helps me out with my money. That it doesn't just rain from the sky and I have it, nice. No, it's not the case, and it's not so obvious for many people. Because, of course, if you get never introduced to those things, you'll never know. Or to give a really specific example, a dangerous example, to learn what the signs and the strategies of people are who want to suck you into the whole religious sects thing. This is really, really dangerous. And those are absolute experts, evil experts. They have really ill and malicious intent, and they are absolute pros at what they are doing. And seeing those signs and knowing a little bit about how they go about their business is really, really helpful and a great thing against naivety. Because what they'll tell you always sounds so great and so nice. And they have such a good eye for deducting whether someone is emotionally and psychologically stable and who is not, who seems weak, and they are so good identifying those people. So don't be one of them. They always lie. Nothing is true what such people say. Never. But again, I'm absolutely optimistic that me and my generation can reach this point of this informed and tough status, just in a different way, with a little bit of a different approach. And maybe the approach itself needs to be adapted a little bit. And of course we need help with that. Let's not lie about it. Of course we need a little bit of help with that. I received a lot of help on my way of, and I'm probably never at the end of this path, because there's always someone who has a new trick up his sleeve that you'll need to see through, and it's sometimes difficult, sometimes it's easy. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you liked today's video, you can click the like button to let me know that you like my style of videos and my way of talking about stuff. My name is Toby Roydell, and I will see you again next time here in my lounge.